today we're talking about leadership, we're talking about your leaders as young people, and I have a very special guest with me today, and I'm going to let him tell us a bit more about himself, and then we'll get to it. Yeah,
Hi everyone, I'm Kian Hawa. I'm the current Junior Mayor of the city of Bulawayo, and I'm very happy to be here today. I'm also a senior student at CBC Bulawayo, and I'm in upper six doing commercials.
welcome to the show, Kian.
Thank you.
So I want us to talk about your role as Junior Mayor, one, and what the Junior Council plans to do for its young people specifically. But first, I want you to tell us more on how you got into the role of being a Junior Mayor. Was it something that you wanted to do, or it was an opportunity that fell on your lap? Tell us more about the journey.
So in essence, I probably would say that I never thought I'd really ever go into these kind of positions, because up to about September last year, I was so focused doing other things that I never thought about it. But even in saying that, I can say that I've always been inspired throughout my life by certain people. So obviously, my history has been quite deep within the city, my family history. So my grandfather was actually a councillor for the city between the years of 1990 and 2010. So he served about 20 years on the city council, and my uncle, his son, was actually the junior mayor in 1990. So I had an understanding of these positions, but very distant. So I could see that they existed. I knew they existed. But I wasn't so intrigued by them until I actually had a conversation with my grandfather around July last year. He asked me what I was doing at school, and I realized that I needed something powerful. And I've always been someone who loves the community, someone who really loves helping people. And I saw, oh wow, there's junior council. And after seeing this deep-rooted family history, plus my own drive to help people, I knew it was my calling. And so the way the council works is that you go, 5 people from every school in Bulawayo goes to interview. And so 2 of us get selected, and then from there, you aspire for a post. So from September until January this year, I was actually aspiring as a junior mayor. And then on the 14th of February, we had our elections, and I was voted in. So it's really been a crazy ride. I think my journey throughout junior council has been tremendous. I've grown so much thanks to the wonderful people I've worked with, and overall, I'm just so grateful. And in terms of what our council wants to do, we've been very clear that our goal as a junior council is to make a mark. And that's very plain, obviously, everyone says that. But our junior council has tried to have a different approach. So for starters, the main project that I've really been pushing for is a blood drive, a nationwide blood drive, but for now it'll be citywide. So the reason why I'd say a blood drive is so important is because last year I actually had my own experience when an uncle of mine was actually involved in an accident, and he needed blood, and there wasn't blood. And that was at Marcha Day. So I thought to myself, if at Marcha Day there was no blood, what about everywhere else? So after seeing that, I realized that there was a massive issue. So I went and I researched, and I realized that most blood banks only have 4 days worth of supply. And in Bulawayo, we've been devastated by a lack of blood. The reason for this is because we have a lack of donor voluntarily participating within giving blood. So due to that, we have shallow blood supplies and no blood service whatsoever. So after seeing that, I realized that there was a massive issue that needed to be addressed. So the way it'll go down is that we'll have, throughout the city, every single high school will have a blood drive. This will probably be one of the biggest blood drives in the history of our country. And after that, we'll probably have a surplus, which is way more than we've ever had. However, in saying that, the issue with blood in general is that it's finite and it goes bad. So because of that, and because of the fact that blood will obviously run out, goes bad, I mean run out. So because it runs out, we have to think about the future. So in doing this blood drive, we aren't only doing it for a short-term goal. We are doing it to demonstrate our commitment to actually making blood drives a usual thing. And so I hope that after we conduct this, every single high school will think, no, next year we also want to do the exact same thing. And hopefully, with all those efforts being done consistently throughout the years, that'll help the cause.
Okay, so you can say blood drive as one of the three major issues that you and the city council are looking into implementing as part of the duration of your leadership. The blood drive.
Yes.
What else? Like what
Right.
is in the works for the city council?
So the youth
For
of
the junior city council.
right. So the youth of today have been affected by many problems, most of which are really evident on the surface. So I think for starters, what you can really look at, and anyone can see this, is drug and substance abuse. So this is an issue which is a bit hard to tackle in the sense that despite the numerous efforts that have been done by multiple people, it's still there. And the reason for this is because drugs are addictive, firstly, and once you get onto them, it's very hard to break off. And of course, there also is the aspect of peer pressure. So in tackling the drug and substance abuse, what we are going to try and do as a junior council is take an approach which is slightly less than conventional. Because of course, the usual approach is always do a drug and substance abuse awareness campaign or a seminar. And people can hear these things, and that still won't change the fact that they are going to be taking drugs. I've outlined the reasons why, that being that it's addictive, and also, generally speaking, this aspect of peer pressure is not going to go away. That's because it's been deeply enrooted within a whole generation. So the approach we're taking is actually looking at the future. So there's a whole generation of youth younger than me that are currently growing up. And those youth still haven't been affected by the drug and substance abuse crisis. So the way in which you actually stop this crisis is by stopping it through the parents. So the parents that we all love and adore currently are actually the reason why, controversially I can say, the drug and substance abuse has been so prevalent. That being that parents are not entirely understanding the gravity of what their children are doing, and they aren't paying detailed attention to what they're doing. So in general, the way which we are going to tackle it is by actually appealing to the parents to try and make a difference. Because as much as we can try and do the general drug and substance abuse campaign, which we are going to do regardless, people are like a brick wall. You really can't get through to them without pushing. So we're going to be still doing the conventional methods, but in that method, we're also going to be trying to further it. And hopefully, in doing that, we'll be able to truly make a mark. And also what I'd say is that in terms of a third issue that we'd be trying to tackle, I think that there's drug and substance abuse, there's also the blood issue, and there also is the issue of youths being unproductive. So the youths of today are actually very sedentary. Like they live lifestyles that are just quite shocking, you'd think. So on a regular school day, you'll go around and you'll see many youths, many people who are just standing and doing nothing during their day. And you have youths who have so much potential. I like to always say, as Zimbabweans, I've seen people with the most potential ever. I've met people from many countries. I'm quite well traveled. I've been to America, the UK, and I still think that Zimbabweans are the most hardworking and the most talented people ever. But the issue is that due to a lack of information about what they can do, a lot of our people just sit around and waste their high school years. And that's, in fact, how they end up doing drugs. It's the fact that they have so much free time and they get bored. And then once they get bored, they think, how can I make my life a bit more appealing? And that's where the aspect of drugs and substance abuse comes into play. So in trying to change the way the youths are going about their days, the way in which you do that is by actually informing them of all the possibilities they have in their life. So in that sense, recently I went to Harare, where I went for a career day expo with the Harare Junior Council. And that was something which was very, very inspiring, because the youths there actually got a better idea of what they can do with their life. And the more and more you inform people of what there is out there, the more and more they dream. And the more they dream, the more they aspire to be better. And if they aspire to be better, they won't waste their time standing by City Hall for hours, just doing nothing with their lives. They'll actually try and make a consistent effort to change their lives. And of course, that's a bracket of people, those that are just choosing to not be productive with their life. But of course, there also are people who cannot go to school. That's a whole separate issue. But in summary, the three issues that I really want to tackle: the blood drive, and then also the drug and substance abuse, and then also trying to inspire youth to be much more productive with their day. And that can be done through career days, just general mentorship. I think that if you stand as a good role model as yourself, and you present a picture of yourself being a great person and someone who's inspiring the youth, and you do that regardless of who you are, if you're the mayor, the president, or just a regular student at CBC, you can really make a difference if you just try and be a leader in your own right and inspire people. Because if you are the change you wish to see, then around you, you'll see that change. And I think in my own personal life, I've seen that. The people I surround myself with are people of very high stature. I mean, one of my best friends is actually the junior town clerk. So I think I can say for sure that I've tried to definitely do that myself. And I think if the youth also are informed of how better you can make friends and how better you can actually inspire people and live better lifestyles, I don't see why we can't really make Zimbabwe a very, very prominent country with skilled workers. And that's very important.
Kian, tell me, how do you plan on appealing to youths from different sides of Bulawayo? You know, there's youths that are living in high-density suburbs and low-density suburbs,
right.
and they are all your peers, and you are the mayor, you
Exactly.
are the one who's the leader of all of them, is it? And some of them, they need someone to bring them closer together, because they have one goal. You have a goal in mind of making young people productive. So how do you plan on appealing to different youths from different backgrounds?
So obviously in clear sight, we can see that I'm not the typical average Zimbabwean student. I don't fit the exact demographic of most people. But in saying that, I've learned throughout my time in the junior council that with the effort to try and connect with the 73 councils that we have. So the way in which our council works, as I've explained, is we have people from every high school. So within those high schools, there's Luveve, there's CBC, there's Northley, there's Townsend. There's schools from every part of the city. So I'm not going to be doing the work by myself. I don't believe in that. I think the primary function of leadership is not to create followers, it's to create more leaders. And so within my council, I think that the best way in which we can actually tackle that problem and have the youth to actually feel like we represent them is by having those councillors feel like they are involved and feel like they are empowered. And that's what I've been doing. And so those councillors from every single school, they go around and they preach exactly what I'm preaching. And because of that, and because of the great work they've been doing, my job is made easier. So in that sense, I'm not doing all the heavy lifting. That would never be an ideal situation. I'm here to help lead the councillors. The councillors themselves go to the awards and they make a difference. And I'm so proud of what they've done so far. And I think that's the best way you can actually connect with them. Because to be honest, there's a barrier that I really cannot cross in certain cases. I know some people won't like me in general. Some people won't see me as an actual representation of what they are. And that's fine, they don't have to. But I think that there's a councillor for everyone. So I do hope that they can look to the 73 councillors we have and see someone who deeply represents them and someone who resonates with them to a spiritual level, someone who you can just think, that's a great person.
All right, does the junior council face like skepticism from maybe other young people about your power and what you can achieve? So I've had like some conversations with people who think it's like a decoration. Like, oh my God, we've got a junior council type of thing. Like, there's no real power. And do you think, like, coming into this role that you now are in, do you face some skepticism about what you want to do, if you are able to do it, if you're going to achieve something? Like, have you had people doubt you, like, directly or indirectly?
So I think definitely there is quite a lot of confusion, and the main skeptics indeed are the people who don't actually understand what we are meant to do. So it's based off a misconstrued idea that we are meant to be the people who are fixing the roads. the people who are supplying water, the people who are picking up litter, like doing the refuse collection. That is not exactly what we do. So the actual mandate that we serve is that we are an organization that provides information to senior scholars about the ongoing running of the city council. So what that means is that as much as I understand the water crisis quite well, and I also understand the reason why the roads aren't really operating properly, I'm not the one who actually makes that difference. So if people actually understood that we are primarily focused on youth affairs, so the junior council, as it says, is about junior. So we are focused on youth affairs and on the youth itself. So coming to me about a complaint about the actual running of the city and saying that I'm not doing anything because I'm not fixing the roads, that's not exactly what I'm meant to do. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, again, all I'd say is that the skeptics are people who don't understand what we're meant to do. And that's understandable. It's not like they have time to really research on it. But I think just a bit of time actually looking at what we do is going to really solve that question.
Speaking about youth affairs and you guys like standing and wanting to fix youth issues or like work on them, not entirely fix, but try to make things a bit better for young people. Do you think that young people are heard enough when it comes to the things that we go through or issues that we face on a, even if it's not a daily basis, but on a grand scale? Do you think young people in Bulawayo are actually heard?
So I think there's barriers in place, and I can attest to the fact that certain pleas aren't heard, and that's possibly the reason why we were created in the first place, to try and bridge that barrier. But in essence, I would say that there still is a gap which we have to fill. And the reason why there is a gap is simply due to the fact that, well, trying to represent the whole city, as much as we try and do it, it's impossible. There's still going to be a crevice of the city that believes in a certain way, and we can't really focus on that opinion. But that's why I always try and encourage people to actually come and speak to their council at their school, to try and voice their opinion. So every single high school student is actually able to do that. I mean, they can come to me as well if they want. They can find my number or my Instagram or whatever. They can actually come to me and I'll listen to them. Any complaint they have which is actually relevant, as I've just mentioned, there's certain complaints that don't really make sense. But any youth complaint or youth suggestion, I have enough time to actually look at those, and I definitely do try and take them into consideration. I try and look at them. And as much as I can, I will try and voice that to the senior council. And we do actually attend the council engagement meetings at times. We should be scheduled for the next meeting to attend. And when we do attend those meetings, we get a chance to actually interact with the senior councillors and to actually voice our opinions. So in as much as the youth aren't heard, and that's understandable, I acknowledge the fact that they aren't heard in some cases. But I do also believe that sometimes people don't try hard enough to make themselves heard. And that's something which people have to also accept, that at times people don't make a full, wholehearted approach to actually make themselves heard. Everyone has a platform to come to me or to go to their councillors to actually voice an opinion. From there, that's when we can now see what to do about the situation itself. And of course, it's hard to try and do that always, but that's the only way to actually make a change, to go through the proper channels. Because there is actually a clear, direct link between the junior and senior council and a clear communication. So if they do actually come to us, we can make a difference, definitely.
So there is, you guys have a way of working with the actual Bulawayo City Council to make a difference and an impact. So it is something that is being done before.
Yes, I believe that some people try and separate the organizations, and as much as they are separate, we follow the exact same structure. We are a mirror of the city council, and we also try and follow the same agenda that they're following. So an example of that is the Clean City agenda. So every year, multiple times during the course of the year, we conduct cleanup campaigns, and so does the actual senior council. So we try and mirror them in certain cases, and in as much as some people might doubt the actual efficacy of a cleanup campaign, they might say it doesn't really do much because litter always regenerates. That's fair. But again, it's about a commitment to demonstrating to people that we are trying to make the city clean. And then trying to inspire people to then, in their own rights, pick up litter, to try not to litter and use bins. That's also a different aspect. So we try and follow the same agenda as the senior council.
Okay, so the junior council has not been in action for long. You are February, I think you can say. You say February or March?
So our current junior council.
I mean this current.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, our current junior council was put in place, officially inaugurated on the 26th of March this year.
So you are fair-ish new.
Quite new,
So
yeah.
I want to ask you, like, what challenges would you anticipate you will face when it comes to now doing the things that you want to implement as the junior council, and how can other young people help you in overcoming those challenges?
So the main issue we actually face is in regards to budget. Of course, that's a usual problem faced in Zimbabwe, but budgeting is quite tight. So as much as we have these ideas, trying to go ahead with them and trying to actually put them in play can be a bit tricky. But the junior council itself, we try and create our own finance. So we have subs, we have people who put in their own donations, but that's limited because a high school child doesn't have money, let's be honest. So we then have to appeal to the senior council to give us funding. Now, that would seem easy. The issue at hand being, though, that we don't have an actual spot on the budget. So I know a lot of the other councils actually have a designated area on the budget where they lie to say this is the amount for junior council. We actually aren't on the budget. So because of that, because we aren't on the budget, that means that when it comes to actually planning events, we're quite limited. And that's something which I have tried to raise, and I think hopefully at the end of my term we can correct that. But facing the issue of money and financial restraints is quite difficult, and it's something which I do believe can be resolved. However, I like to always go back to our motto, being service before self. So because we serve the community, I do also think that it's fine that we create our own finance because we are trying to help our community. The main problem being, though, that we don't have the actual might to make a massive impact if we don't get external funding. And of course, there are sponsors in that, but I do believe that if we get more funding, we'll be home and dry. And I think also, in terms of problems we face as a council, so councillors are upper sixes. So because of that, people are very busy. People come home from problematic workloads, and then you also have to try and ask them every week to come for a council meeting and to also try and be good councillors in their own right, to try and make a difference. And that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people. So in understanding that, we have to also be limited because people are living their own lives. They're trying to balance it. And so that's the massive issue we face, is that sometimes the meetings won't have a lot of people because people are so busy at school. Sometimes the actual turnout for events will be low because everyone is just going through their own crazy life. And I think, to be honest, you have to understand that and accept that people are going through their own things. But overall, if we were able to improve on that, to try and get a bit of a clearer commitment to the council, I think that would be quite useful.
How do you judge your school life and
So in terms of what I've done, so I'll give you a bit of a story about myself in terms of my achievements. Maybe that'll help link back to that question. So at O level, I got 10 A's, 7 of which were stars, and I got a country prize, which means that I was the top in a subject in the whole country, and I was the 7th best in the world at that same subject. And then I also play hockey.
Why are we downplaying? Why am I acting like this is something I've heard before? Congratulations.
Thank you. That was a while back, but sure. So I have 10 A's. I was a country prize recipient. I play hockey for my first team. I've played since I was in Form 3. And I also am a club president for about 3 or 4 different clubs. So it's quite,
A lot.
it's a lot. And I think in my life I've had a bit of a conundrum as to how to balance that. And in as much as I've tried my best, I think I'm still learning, because this post takes a lot of my effort and energy. So my advice to people trying to balance it is to try not to follow me. And that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but everyone has their own way of balancing things. What works for me won't work for you. And I think that's something which people try and downplay because they don't understand that everyone is different and everyone has different limits, and also everyone can balance things differently. So I think that overall, if you truly put in a commendable effort and if you try with all your might to balance everything, you can actually do everything offered at your school to the best of your ability, and you can truly become someone exceptional. So I really wouldn't say that playing sports is something that harms you. I think it actually does the opposite effect. Because, for example, when I go and I play sports, I find that it's a break in between everything because I actually enjoy playing my sport quite a lot. So if you try and phrase it in your life to say that these things are not tedious to you, they're breaks in between a long day, and you actually get to enjoy them, it becomes so much easier. I love being the mayor. I love playing hockey. I love being in all these clubs. I don't like school much, so that might be the one limit in my ideology. But if you just love what you're doing, you'll find a way. And despite doing all of those things, I still manage to be quite active socially. I have a lot of great friends, a lot of great people around me. And I think also the way you balance it is by having someone to support you. So I mentioned earlier how the junior town clerk is one of my friends at school. So we come from the same school. And so during this whole process, we actually were together throughout all of it, in the sense that we had to go through all these council meetings. We had to still write our AS exams last year during all these council meetings. We had to still be balancing everything whilst trying to become the mayor and junior town clerk. And because we were so dedicated, we never truly looked back. But at the same time, whenever we had any problems that we were facing, we had someone else to hold our shoulder, to help us stay up. And I think that winning with your friends is one of the best experiences you can ever have. And so the fact that I managed to make mayor whilst he made town clerk, that was Kinton Mpofu. That was one of the best experiences in my life, because whilst you're happy for yourself, you're also happy for them because you know how much they tried. And so the fact is that I couldn't have got here without people around me. And there are several people which I cannot mention, the list would be too long, but people who truly helped me in this journey. And if you try and put everything on yourself, you won't manage. It's all about finding your own way and also finding people who can help you whenever you need it. If you have that great support group around you, you'll never go wrong.
That is quite, yeah, that is quite nice to hear that you have the support system because you're juggling a lot. So,
Yes.
you mentioned something earlier that is still stuck in my mind. You said your grandfather was in the city council for 20 years.
Yeah.
Who's your grandfather?
So my grandfather is my role model overall. He's my biggest inspiration. His name is Comrade Mohammed Hassan Isat. And so if you go to town, to Main Street, you'll see the shop Isat's there. It's been there since 1914. So he's someone who, it's been there for 100 years, 100 plus years. He's someone who has served this community with such diligence and a dedication that never died. He's someone who has been there for me throughout my life, who inspired me in other ways. And I think the most notable thing that he actually did was he's someone who made me a good person. So you can try and be great at school, great at sports, but if you aren't a good person, I find it a bit pointless. And it's a frivolous discussion to think that you can be the best at everything, but you aren't a good person. And he's someone who, because of his long-serving dedication to the city and to me also, I found that I could never really be without him. And he's now 79 years old, so he's quite old. But in his life, he served with distinction. And overall, he's someone who inspires me. And I just don't know where I'd be without him. So overall, it's a bit of a touchy topic, I'd say, because he's someone who didn't just serve the city, because he also was there during the 70s, during the actual struggle for independence. He actually helped out there, which is why he has the title comrade. So honestly speaking, he's someone who inspires me, someone who pushes me to be the best version of myself. And if he does get to watching this, I'd like to thank him from here.
Oh, very sweet. You were right when you were saying you was that's what I got when you, like, your legacy is rooted in Bulawayo. So
Exactly.
I definitely see why your grandfather has done so much for us also. I'm sure that you did. So thank you so much for joining us on the screenshot and talking about your journey as mayor and what you are planning to do. And we will follow up. We'll be using this interview to see what you've done and stuff. But I wish you all the best, you and the council, and what you are going to be doing going forward, and keep us updated. We'd like to follow the journey and follow along on your journey.
I'd like to thank you and your team here today for hosting me. It was a great honor, and I am quite happy with how it turned out.
Okay. So to everyone who's watching at home, this is your junior mayor, and you'll be trying to do a lot of things for the city, like you said. So let us support them, and especially young people. You know, we are the future of this country, and we need to work hard towards the brighter future. So follow the journey of the junior mayor and his council. Where can we find you? Like the work that the junior council is doing.
So we actually have a Facebook page and an Instagram page and a channel on WhatsApp. They all should be under the title Bulawayo Junior City Council. And if you are interested in also seeing more of the work that I do, I have my own personal Facebook and Instagram. But I think it's all documented there, so just go and see what's happening there.
Alright, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, follow us on X, follow us on TikTok. We'll be posting clips of this episode everywhere. So also some behind the scenes footage and there's some interviews with Kian and what do you call it? Honorable Mayor.
Here's worship.